which is a favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless Brother Ahmed and his wife and his life and their time and their wealth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us opportunity to be amongst those who benefit. الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَ. The only way you can do ittiba' ahsan is when you listen properly. Only way you can apply something in its right, correct way is when you listen properly. In the adab of the, you should listen with 4 qualities. Number 1, you should listen with mujahada, with sacrifice. This is why I'm a big opinion of getting off the cushions and listening. But I hear you. You're a senior citizen, so you can stay back there. You know? Number 2, listening with the intention to correct yourself. Number 1, with mujahada. Number 2, listening with the intention to correct yourself. Number 3, listen in a matter of respect. Adab. You know, there are many people that will just start criticizing you in the middle of a lecture. Listen like a student that's ready to learn, with adab, with zeal, with enthusiasm inside. I want to learn. I want to learn something. And number 4, listen with the intention, right when I leave, I won't wait another day to practice what I heard today. You know, many times speakers are giving a lecture, you're looking across over your shoulder, like those people that get angry, Allah doesn't like them. And you're looking at your friend, Allah's talking to you too. You know, those people that backbite, you look at the sisters and the brothers behind you. What do you mean? Are you exempt? Or are you insulated from this habit or mistake? So these are things that we need to apply. Number 4 is to have the intention to apply right away. Apply right away. If any 4 of these are lacking, I'm afraid the program will not benefit you. You need to have mujahadat al-nafs. You know, you need to have adab. You need to have istima'. The same verb was used for Quran. وَإِذَا قُرِيَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا. You know, الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلِ. So you need to that literally means if the mic is not clear and the voice is not loud enough, you're trying to make yourself available for the voice. You know, we have the mic system, we have everything, and still those words and that the wisdom does not seep into our heart, and that's something to question. And of course, last but not the least, with the intention to apply in my life. In my life. And then we'll see what happens, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Bismillah. Jazakallah khair. Do you know why that's happening? iPhone?
Is this one?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Try that again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah. How's everybody doing tonight? Alhamdulillah. So I was told that this is the college halaqa. So if I could just ask, what colleges are you guys coming from? What colleges are around here? Kettering? Okay. What else we got? Is that the only one? I heard there's a few around here. Yeah. Okay. University of Michigan Flint. Is that right? Okay. MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. So when I was told about this halqa, that's a college halqa, and the first thought I thought that I'm going to be giving it on a MSA campus or a college campus with MSA students. But when I was told that it's going to be in masjid, I felt some relief, because as a proud Ohio State Buckeye, I never want to step foot on a University of Michigan campus. So alhamdulillah. But it makes you guys feel bad. I went there for 2 years, but then I had to transfer to University of Cincinnati. So I graduated from UC, not from Ohio State, unfortunately. But alhamdulillah. So inshallah, like the Shaykh mentioned, Ramadan's coming up. And so what I thought I'm here for today, giving a talk, maybe just something to a reminder to prepare us for Ramadan, inshallah. So basically, if we look at Surah Al-Baqarah, towards the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts his dialogue with Bani Israel, and this, after he talks about the muttaqeen first, and then the disbelievers, the hypocrites, then he talks about Genesis, about creation, and Adam and Hawa. And then he starts the conversation with Bani Israel. He says, يا بني إسرائيل اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأوفوا بعهدكم وأوفوا بعهدي أوفي بعهدكم وإياي فارهبون. So he starts talking to them, and the first thing he mentions is about faith and belief, and that they should fulfill their covenant that they had. Right? Because as you know, Surah Al-Baqarah was revealed in Medina, where the Muslims had dialogue with Bani Israel. So he's talking to them, he's reminding them of the old covenants that they had with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he's telling them, believe in that which has been set down, which is attesting to what you have been given. مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا مَعَكُمْ. Right? Because what the Prophet ﷺ has been given, what he came down with the Quran, with his message, is exactly what they have. It's complementary to what they have, and they know this. And that's why after that he tells them, don't mix truth and falsehood. Right? Because they have the truth, and they know the Prophet ﷺ, and they know that he's the messenger. That's when one of them asked the other one, Huwa, is he really him? Is he really the messenger? He said, yeah. But he said, I'm going to be his enemy until I die. Right? So they knew that he was the messenger, and they knew that this was their correct message, but they still didn't want to believe. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding them of the covenant that they had. And so he's reminding them of this belief, and then he tells them to take action. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. He tells them to establish prayer, give charity, and then he tells them to, he questions them. He says, do you guys enjoy what is good but forget yourselves? Right? And so he's reminding them first of the belief, and then after that, he's reminding them of action. And so this should seem familiar to us, correct? What is one ayah that's repeated over and over that reminds us of this? Well, just to us. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Right, we hear this all the time. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. In Surah Al-Tin, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فَلَهُمْ أَجْرٌ غَيْرُ مَمْنُونٍ. In Surah Al-Bayyinah, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ خَيْرُ الْبَرِيَّةِ. They are the best of creation, those who believe and do good deeds. So we are told over and over in the Quran to believe and have good deeds. الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. The ones who say our Lord is Allah, and then they are steadfast. Basically, again, repeating that, believe that Allah is our Lord, and then be steadfast on that belief. So we remind this over and over. And again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is reminding Bani Israel of the same thing. Of first, reminding them of their beliefs, and then the action. And then a very beautiful verse comes in. It says, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ إِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. So he's reminding them of doing good. He's reminding them of believing and then doing good. And he says, seek assistance through patience and prayer. Seek assistance. If you want to believe and do good, seek assistance through these two things: patience and prayer. So this is very important for us to understand, because again, and the reason that Musa alayhi salam is mentioned so much in the Quran, and the reason that Bani Israel is mentioned so much, because we can relate to them. We relate to them a lot, and we're supposed to learn from what they went through. So this is, even though the dialogue here is to Bani Israel, but of course, as we know, this is to us as well. That to believe and do good deeds, these are two things that we need. These are two things that will help us. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. And this is something very relevant to Bani Israel, because some of the diseases that they're suffering from is the love of power, and also the love of money and power. The love of money and power is something that they dealt with over and over again. Even at one time when they were sent a messenger, they were sent a king, their messenger told them that this king is appointed. What did they say? He said, he can't be our king. He doesn't have enough wealth. Right? So their idea of money and power controlled them. And the beautiful thing about patience and prayer, and why it was told to them, because these are two things that control, that break the ego. Patience and prayer are two things that break the ego, break the self down, and get you away from this dunya, bring you closer to zuhd. patience in prayer. And we go through the same thing a lot of times. That our egos and our want for money, why? Because our desires, we want to fulfill our desires, because money is just a means to that. So a way to break that ego and these desires is through patience and prayer. And again, not that money or wealth is bad in any way, but if it takes control of you, then it can become bad. So to keep that in check, we need patience and prayer. And when we look at patience, right? Patience, sabr in the Arabic language means more than patience. It means patience, perseverance, consistency, self-discipline. These all fall under sabr. And Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, he said sabr is three things. As-sabru ala ta'a, that being patient and perseverant upon doing good. As-sabru anil ma'asiyah, being patient and having self-discipline to stay away from bad. Was-sabru ala aqdarillah, being patient with whatever Allah wills. Right? And the first two, we have control over that. Of doing good, I have the control to do good. And I have the control to stay away from bad. But the third one is being patient with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes we don't have any control of that. And the Prophet ﷺ told us that patience is a light for the believer. And what does light do? I'll ask you guys this question. What does light do for us? Guides. What else? Anybody? It removes darkness, right? It clears our path. When I walk into a room, if it's dark, what am I going to do is turn on the light so that I can see where I'm going, right? Because if I walk into a dark room and don't turn on any light, I'm just going to start stumbling upon things. So light clears up the path for us. It shows us what is right. And that's what patience does. Because when something, especially in time of calamity, when we have patience, that's when we can see the clear picture. And that's why impatience is the opposite. That brings darkness. Because when we're in a time of calamity and we act harshly or we act right away without thinking, that's when we make a lot of mistakes. So it's being patient and taking a step back and looking. This is when we see what's really happening. And this is what light is. It's lighting our decisions. It's guiding our decisions. So that's patience. That's why the Prophet ﷺ told us that patience is light. And this is why Ali, radiallahu anhu, the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, he said, as-sabru ra'sul iman. Just as the body has a head, he said the head of iman is patience. Again, because when you look at sabr, it's not just being patient with someone, but being perseverant, consistent. And this is all part of iman. When it comes to belief and doing good, we need that patience. We need that persistence in doing good, and we need that self-discipline and staying away from bad. And a beautiful example of what we can learn from patience. And even before I get there, the description of those who have patience in the Quran, as we see later on in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again repeats the same thing, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. Tells us the same thing, and this time the dialogue is to the believers themselves, saying seek assistance with patience and prayer. And then later on in that same conversation, he says, those who are patient, they are the ones that when a calamity befalls them, what do they say? Just tell me, what are we supposed to say when a calamity befalls us? Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. That we belong to Allah and to Him we will return. And this is something very beautiful. Because again, like I said, patience is one of those things that breaks down the ego and humbles the person. And when a calamity happens to us, and the first thing we think is Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, that we belong to Allah and to Him we will return. So basically I'm saying, oh Allah, I belong to you, you are in control, you are the master of all affairs, and I'm just putting my trust in you. That you are in control of what's going on here, and that you are the one I could turn to. Because our ego is what tells us, no, I have control, and I could do this and that, and I have this power. But when something happens, and we go back to Allah, that's when we feel that ego coming down. That, oh Allah, everything belongs to you, including myself. So whatever you do for me, whatever you take from me, whatever you give me, is good. I believe in you, I trust in you. Right? Because that's the relationship that we need with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the poet once said, لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ فَارَقْتُهُ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ إِذَا فَرَقْتُهُ عِوَضٍ وليس لله إِذْ فَارَقْتَ مِنْ عِوَضٍ. That for everything that you lose or that you separate from, there's a replacement for that, except for Allah. If you lose Allah in your life, if you lose that relationship, then there's nothing that can replace Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your life. And of course, Allah is always there, and as the Rabb, He's going to take care of every single person. But we need that relationship. We need to have that consistency with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing that He is the one that's going to control my affairs. And whatever happens to me is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا أَصَابَ مِن مُصِيبَةٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. Nothing befalls a person except by the will of Allah. And this is something beautiful. وَمَا أَصَابَ مِن مُصِيبَةٍ. Asaba means to target something. Right? That's where musibah comes from. A calamity comes from asaba, which means to target something. Which means that whatever happens to you, good or bad, was meant for you. It was targeted for you. So وَمَا أَصَابَ مِن مُصِيبَةٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. Whatever happened to you, which was already targeted for you and already meant for you, this is only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He knows what's best. وَمَنْ يُؤْمِن بِاللَّهِ يَهْدِ قَلْبَهِ. And whoever believes in Allah, Allah will guide their heart. He doesn't even say He'll guide them, He said He'll guide their heart, which is also very beautiful. Because that's where we feel the emotions. Right? And that's where our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes from. So whoever is patient and has belief at a time of calamity, Allah will guide their heart. And something beautiful that we can learn from the story of Musa alayhi salam with Khidr, right, from Surah Al-Kahf. Something inshallah that we should be trying to recite every Friday. When we look at that story, and Musa alayhi salam, we're familiar with the story, Musa alayhi salam, he's asked who's the most knowledgeable person. And as a prophet, he says, I am. He's not bragging or boasting, but he just says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen me as a messenger, so I'm the most knowledgeable. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him that there's somebody more knowledgeable than you. So Musa alayhi salam, because of his love for knowledge, he says, I want to go find this person and learn from them. So he goes on his journey and he eventually finds Khidr. And he says, I want to learn from you. And Khidr says, you don't have the patience to learn with me. But he keeps asking and asking. He says, okay, I'll let you follow. I'll let you follow me and learn from me, and I'll give you a few chances. If you break those chances, it's over. So what's the first thing that happens with Musa and Khidr? I'll ask you guys this. What's the first thing that they go through? There's three parts of the story. What's the first one? The Safina, the ship, right? So they go together onto a ship. It's a ship that belongs to people that Khidr knows, and they give him a ride. And while they're on the ship, he tears a part of it. He destroys a part of it. And then they go on. And when Musa sees this, he's questioning. He says, what's going on? Why would you do that? These people gave us a free ride. They're friends of yours. Why would you destroy part of their ship? And he says, this is strike one. What's the second part of the story? You could tell me. Come on, I got to get some life out of you guys. Who can tell me the second part of the story with Musa and Khidr? Kills the little boy, right? So they get off the boat, and they're walking and they just come to a little boy, and Khidr just kills a boy, a young boy. And Musa's even outraged more. He's like, how could you do that? An innocent child? How could you kill that young boy? And he says, this is strike two. What's the third part of the story? Fixes the wall, right? So they come to a city that's not hospitable to them at all. They don't give him anything. But he sees the wall that's broken down and he fixes the wall. And again, Musa reacts. He says, these people didn't do anything for us. Why are you helping them out? And so at this point, Khidr says, okay, that's the final strike. So I'm going to tell you why I did everything, and then we're going to split apart. So he tells him the first thing, right? And who could tell me, why did he destroy the ship? Yes. There was a tyrant that would go around, and whatever ship he saw, if he liked it, he would take it. And so Khidr told him that I destroyed it so that when this king sees this boat, he wouldn't take this boat. Because this was the livelihood for these people. They were fishers, or they were fishermen. So they go out, catch fish, and this was their livelihood. So they needed that boat. And Khidr knew that if the king saw a good boat, he would take it from them. So he destroyed part of it, and they were able to keep their boat. Now the second part, when he kills the kid, he tells him this kid was going to grow up and be a hardship for his parents, be a true test for his parents, to the point where he would make them disbelieve. So he was killed, and they were replaced with another child that would be better for them. So that's the second part. And the third part is because this wall, behind this wall was some treasures that belonged to two orphans. And their father had passed away, but he was a righteous man. And he knew that if this treasure was uncovered, the people of that city would take it. So he covered it up for those orphans. So that's the three things. And how this relates to patience. Again, going back to Allah is in control of all our affairs. Whatever happens to us is good for us, whether we see it or not. And something beautiful we can learn from this story is that if you look at the first part, the people when they first saw their ship destroyed, again, to them this was a calamity. To them this was something bad. But then later on, when the king came by and he decided not to take their boat, they saw the wisdom behind that. They saw the wisdom behind that calamity happening. So at first they might have been frustrated, or might have been, why us, or why this happened? But then they saw the wisdom behind it, and they would have rather had their boat partly destroyed instead of completely taken away. Now the second part, where the parents lost their kid, a young innocent child, for them, they'll never see the wisdom behind that, because they don't know what he was going to grow up to be like. So do you see the first part? They came to see the wisdom. The second part, they'll never know the wisdom. They lost their child, they're mourning, and they don't know why. They don't know why a man just came up randomly and killed their child. But this was for the good of them, whether they see it or not. And they won't ever see it, but this was for the best. And so this is something beautiful. And then this third story, the father who had already passed away, he'll never see that being done for his kids, and the kids don't know that that happened for them. So they were given a blessing without even knowing. And this is where patience comes in, that sometimes things happen to us. That's why patience is so important for our iman, to keep that relationship strong with Allah, because sometimes things happen and we may not know at first why it happened, but we may see later why it happened. And then we say, oh, that's why it happened. Then that light bulb goes off. And sometimes we may never see the wisdom behind it. And that's why it's important that at every calamity, we be patient with Allah, we put our trust in Allah, and we be pleased with whatever the decree was. Because we might see it, we may never see it, but there was a wisdom behind it. And also we should be thankful and discipline enough to stay away from bad deeds. And the third part is being patient with what Allah decrees for you. And a beautiful example of this that we see from the Quran, from one of the great messengers, is Yusuf alayhi salam. And the story of Yusuf, we're not familiar with that, is that, again, as a child, he's beloved by his father. He knows that he's going to be something special because of the dream that he has. And then one day he goes out to play with his brothers. As a child, he's going out with his older brothers. He's looking forward to it. He's excited. And all of a sudden, what do they do to him? They throw him in a well. They get rid of him. And Yusuf alayhi salam has to be patient through this. And this is something that he has no control over. He's a young child. He has 10 older brothers that did this to him. He has no control over this. So he has no choice but to be patient. And yet we see that he was patient and that he was from the muhsinin, because he came out, even the people who saw him, and even the king later, or the minister that saw him later on, he saw good in him. And he decided to take him to his home. Because even through that struggle, he still held himself in a certain way. So he was patient through that. And then when he was in the house of the minister, of the Aziz, and we know the story of the wife of the Aziz trying to seduce him. And he was in a situation where he is a slave, he's owned, he's in a different place, he doesn't know what's going on. So it would have been very easy for him he would have had an excuse to fall into that sin. To say, oh, she's my owner, she owns me, I'm her slave, that she has control over what goes on around me. But yet he had that self-discipline and that patience to fight that off. Even though he knew he was going to jail, even though he knew he was going to be punished for that, but yet he had that patience and that self-discipline. And this is very important too, because sometimes when it comes to doing something bad, we're trying to fight ourselves from doing it, but we're also thinking about the future. What if I don't do this? What if I don't take this? What's going to happen to me here? What's going to happen to me there? Right? And again, this is where the trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes in that patience. Because Yusuf alayhi salam knew. She told him, if you don't do this, I will jail you. And yet he said that jail is more preferred to me than doing this. And we learn later on that this ends up being good for him. So sometimes we have to hold ourselves back. Again, we may not know why. We don't know why we have to do this certain thing, or we have to stay away from this certain thing, but there's good in it for us. And then finally, the third thing is Yusuf alayhi salam, he's put in a position of power where he has to do good. And again, he's strong enough and he's consistent enough to where he fulfills that good. When he's put in charge of the treasury, and people from all over Egypt and from the surrounding areas are coming to them because the drought that's going on, he organized that and he took care of that. This is a responsibility they had in front of Allah, and he fulfilled that responsibility. So an example of Yusuf here is that he was patient when a calamity befell him that he couldn't control. He was patient from doing bad, and he was patient in doing good. And we see what happens at the end of his life. Right? He's torn away from his father, and his whole life, he still has hope that he'll see his father again. His whole life, his father Yaqub alayhi salam, who's also a prophet, he has hope that he'll see Yusuf again. And at the end, they get to be rejoined. And not only that, but his brothers end up being good, and they ask for forgiveness, and they're guided as well. SubhanAllah. So again, that patience and that perseverance is what, inshallah, at the end will give us a good outcome. Even if we don't see it now, we may not see the wisdom in these things, but that will give us a good outcome, inshallah. So this is the first thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. So it's important to have patience, and it's important because patience gives us that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why Ali radiallahu anhu said, patience is the head of Iman. It's such a crucial aspect of Iman because it keeps us consistent with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. And then says the prayer. And something interesting here, again, like we said, part of patience is being consistent in good deeds. So, but then Allah says, he specifies prayer. Even though it's part of the general category of good deeds and things that we have to do, but it's specified here. Again, showing the status of prayer in Islam, showing how important it is above all the other actions. And it's very related to patience as well. These two things come together. Because prayer is one of those things where we have to be patient upon, we have to be consistent with. Again, we're asked to do it 5 times a day. Right? From the morning when we're in the comforts of our bed, we have to get up just to pray. In the middle of the day, whether we're at work or we're at school, we have to find time to fit in the Dhuhr prayer. In the evening, when maybe we're done with school, done with work, we're tired, we have to fit in Asr prayer. Then Maghrib comes in. We're really tired now, we just want to rest. No, but we have to pray Maghrib prayer. And then Isha. It's the end. I'm sleepy, I'm tired, I just want to go to bed, but I have to wait for Isha. Right? So if we truly fulfill the prayers and the way they're supposed to be done, this will help us in our patience. And if we're fulfilling patience, this will help us in our prayer. And the beautiful thing about prayer, the reason that it's specified over any other good deed, is because it contains so many good deeds within. The prayer starts off with reciting the Quran. And then there's tahmeed in the prayer. You're making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're making salawat upon the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And again, also it's humbling you. You go into prostration, then you go into sujood. You go to ruku', and then you go into sujood. You're putting your face on the ground for the sake of Allah. And while your face is on the ground, you're saying Subhana Rabbi al-A'la. Glory be to the one who's most high. While we're most low, in our most honorable part of our body, our face is on the ground, we're saying Subhana Rabbi al-A'la. Glory be to one the most high. Again, crushing that ego. And this is what comes in our way of having a good relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the ego. So once we're able to crush that, then we can have that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we see these two things, and they're very relevant to each other. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that if we want to have that true belief and we want to do good, we need patience in prayer. Another beautiful thing is here, it says, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Isti'ana is to seek assistance. And we say this all the time, right? In Surah Al-Fatiha. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. It is you alone that we worship, and it is you alone that we seek assistance from. So isti'ana is seeking assistance. And the beautiful part about isti'ana is that it's seeking assistance after putting some work in. You first put your own work in and then you seek assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the meaning of isti'ana. That's why in Fatiha, وَإِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. First we worship you alone and then we seek your assistance. So we're showing that we're doing something, we're worshiping you, we're trying, and then we ask for that assistance. Because first we have to do our part. We have to take that first step, and Allah will always be there for us. If we just take that first step, then Allah will come towards us. We know the hadith. Take a step and Allah will come towards you. Go towards Him walking, He'll come towards you running. So on. So take that first step. And this is what isti'ana is. That we want help from Allah and we're seeking help through patience and prayer. We need to take that first step. We need to work on ourselves, be cognizant of ourselves, and how is our level of patience? How are we when a calamity befalls us? And how are we with our prayer? How is our khushu' in our prayer? How attentive are we in our prayer? Right? And the prayer again, we're never just told just to pray, but we're told وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ. Establish the prayer. Make it firm, make it steadfast. Make it mean something to you. Make the prayer mean something to you. Not just movements going up and down. You do 5 times a day, but make it mean something to you. And if you give the prayer life, it will make such a big difference in your life. Give the prayer life and you will see the effect of that. And this is why it's so important to have that. And this is why they say as-salatu bila khushu' ka jasadin bila ruh. That prayer without khushu' is like a body without a soul. Right? Because that khushu' is what gives our prayer life. That we're attentive to it and we give it its due rights and we're steadfast with it and we're patient with it. That's when we give it life. And that's when we'll see the effect of it. And that's when we see verses such as إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ. That salah, that prayer, keeps away from evil. When we establish the prayer, when we make it mean something to us, then we'll see it easier to stay away from evil. It becomes natural to stay away from bad things. Because imagine, 5 times a day, throughout your whole day, in the morning to afternoon, to the evening, to the night, you're praying and you're thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When in between that do you have time to do something, something major, something really evil? Now, again, we all fall into mistakes and we all fall into sins, and that's natural. And that's why tawbah is there. That's why forgiveness is there. But we're thinking about the major things. If all throughout the day I'm remembering Allah and I'm attentive, then when do we have time to do these things? So if we give life to our prayer and we're patient with our prayer, we'll see the effect of that in our lives. And this is something that takes time too. So we must be aware of that. That's something, establishing khushu' in our prayer, being attentive to our prayer, is something that takes time. And it's a lifelong journey. Right? And so this is something that we have to take, step by step. One little step at a time. Think of ways that you could not only just put khushu' on your prayer, but put khushu' on your life. Put that submissiveness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that being in awe of Allah, that having respect for Allah, thinking of Allah. You need to do little things that get you to that point. It's not just one day it's not a khushu' switch that you just turn on and off. But how do we take little steps to get to that khushu'? How do we take little steps to get to that patience and to get to a fulfilling prayer? So this is something that we need to think of. And we need to assess in our lives. What could I do? And some things that, within our lives that we could do. Something simple, such as the little dua booklets. Husnul Muslim. I'm sure everybody's familiar with them. They're just, booklets of dua that you make for every occasion. What you say when you wake up, what you say going to the restroom, out of the restroom, what you say when you eat, when you're done eating, what you say when you leave the home, coming to the home, right? And this is something that Prophet ﷺ would always do. They're very simple, short du'as and remembrance that we make throughout the day. And if we could start to implement those, maybe one by one, take the one when you wake up, try to memorize that, learn that, and say it for a week or a couple weeks. Then when you establish that, then take the next one, and then the next one. And before you know it, you're remembering Allah, and you have dhikr and dua in your day, throughout the day. You're remembering Allah throughout the day. And you're giving meaning to that day. You're giving meaning to your life. You're not just going around, doing from one thing to the other and not knowing what you're doing. Right? And this is, as Iman fluctuates, sometimes we're on an Iman high and we know what we're doing and our purpose, and sometimes we're on an Iman lows, like, what am I doing this for? Why am I living? Why am I studying this? Why am I working here? And so on and so forth. We have that downtime. So we need that consistency in our days. That if we could, take some of these small du'as, some of these small adhkar, and just implement them. And use one by one. So you give life to your day. So that's one thing. That inshallah, if nothing else, we go home with that. Just remembering to try to implement one little dhikr at a time, day by day, inshallah. And then also in the prayer. How could I make my prayer more attentive? How could I make my prayer more fulfilling? And the first thing we have to do is realize the importance of prayer. Give that prayer an awe, an aura of awe. That I'm not just going into something, again, it's not just a set of motions, it's not just a set of movements, but I'm going to stand in front of Allah. This is why Ali radiallahu anhu, every time he would make wudu, they would see his face get pale. It would go white and they'd say, what's wrong? And he would tell them, I'm about to go stand in front of my Lord. Right? So this is why it was so effective for them, because they knew what they were doing, going to stand in front of their Lord. So when we know this and we realize this, then we'll do it in the best way. That even if it's Fajr, I'm just getting out of my bed, I roll out of my bed, make wudu, I want to pray as soon as possible and go back to bed. Next time, give it a little more time. How about before I pray, I put on something good. Even apply some perfume, even if it's in the morning. And at home, apply some a good smell. And then stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Give that prayer meaning. And with this, understand what I'm saying. Even, to study Surah Al-Fatiha. What are you saying in Surah Al-Fatiha? What does it mean to say Subhana Rabbil Alim, Subhana Rabbil A'la? Again, you don't have to go through all tafsir of the Quran and know every single thing that you're reading and all the ins and outs, but just give some meaning to what you are saying. A rough translation at first. So we understand. So, and then once we understand that, again, it brings life to our prayer. So the reason I bring this up, because like we said, we're about the 26th or 27th day of Rajab, I believe. A few days we'll be going to Sha'ban, and then a month later we'll be going to Ramadan. And a lot of times we go into Ramadan ill-prepared. And once we get to Ramadan, then we know, oh, Ramadan is here. And then we try to get serious. The first few days are hard. Then we start to get into the flow of it. And by the time we were ready to take full advantage of Ramadan and we're excited for Ramadan, it's more than half the month is already gone. Sometimes it takes us to the end of the month to realize that, what a blessing Ramadan is. And then we realize the blessing, and then, oh, Ramadan's gone in a few days. And then we live in regret those first few days. Oh, I should have done this in Ramadan, I should have done that. So instead of waiting until Ramadan comes, since we're a month away, how about we start now? And the reason I chose patience of prayer, because even one of the names for sabr, or one of the names of Ramadan in Arabic is Shahr al-Sabr. And some of the mufassirun, when they go through this verse, where they say "Ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah," they take that as take assistance in Ramadan and prayer. So to them, sabr and fasting is equal, right? Because sabr is fighting the self and confining yourself and restraining yourself, and this is what fasting is: restraining ourselves, fighting our desires in order to build that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need to start from now. Is how could we have patience in doing good? How could we have patience and self-discipline from staying away from bad? And how could we just be patient overall with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That when something happens to me, how could I be patient? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even once, in the night, he had his lamp and it went off. And when it went off, he says, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And Aisha radiallahu anha, his wife said, even to that, you said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He said, yes. He said, any calamity, whether big or small, that befalls a Muslim is a calamity. And he should say that. So even small things that happen to us, we should be aware of that. And try to remember Allah even in that. Even the small things that happen to us. And if we could do that with the small things, then that will prepare us to deal with the big things. Right? Even if something small, such as a lamp going off, if I could deal with that, and be patient with that, and I can do that consistently, then once that big thing happens, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test us, we'll be prepared for that, inshallah. So let's work on that, our patience with good deeds and staying away from bad. And let's also specifically work on our prayer this month and the recitation of the Quran. So that when Ramadan comes, we're ready to go. We are often started. We don't have to wait for the 15th day or the 20th day to get going. But instead, the first day comes in and we're ready to go, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khair. And if there's any questions or comments, go ahead. Or if you'd like to add anything.
Anybody want to ask any questions? We still have time. Anyone wants to ask any questions about the topic or anything else? Yes. 17 probably.
Good question. So for those who didn't hear, the question is, since Ramadan is starting in about a month, what other things besides what I said could I advise in preparing for Ramadan? Correct, the question? Yeah, and especially with a busy life. You know, a lot of times, we think we have to do big things or, take major steps in order to see a success or to feel good about ourselves. And that's not the case. Sometimes it could be little things that we do that make a difference. And in this case, since we have a month, if somebody does have a busy life, which I'm sure a lot of us have, I mean, with studies and work and so on, simple things. Again, like I said, the prayer is one thing, just give it some more meaning. Things just, such as reciting Quran. It doesn't have to be a juz a day. It doesn't have to be 10 pages, but even just something like 1 page. If you're not used to reciting Quran, then just pick up the Quran and 1 page a day. It takes less than 5 minutes. But just start that. Even if you're not used to it, just do 1 page every two days. And then midway through Sha'ban, try to do 1 page per day. And so that when Ramadan comes, because Ramadan is the month of the Quran, then you already have something going. Again, it doesn't have to be something big, but just something small. So the Prophet ﷺ told us that the best of deeds are those that are consistent, even if they're small. So reciting Quran, maybe 1 page a day, is one thing. Giving charity. Again, one of the special acts in Ramadan is giving charity. Even something such as giving a dollar a day or a couple dollars a day to different causes, or every week dropping $20 off somewhere. Right, something small. Instead of having 2 cups of coffee every day, have 1 cup of coffee, use the rest of that money for something good. So, that could be something small. Not just doing good, but also staying away from bad. So, figure out something that you want to get rid of. And from now, start working on that. Little by little, every single day. How could I fight this desire or this temptation? And little by little, every day, chip away at it. So when Ramadan comes, you basically stop doing it. And then you don't have to worry about that in Ramadan. You already took a bad habit away. Because that's one of the things about Ramadan is for you to develop God consciousness, taqwa, right? And so part of that is doing good and staying away from evil. So figure out one bad habit. Even from now, we should figure out some bad habits that we want to get rid of during Ramadan and start that from now, little by little. So when Ramadan comes, you already started, and then you could chip away even more at it, inshallah. So these are just, suggestions of the Sheikh. Has some more suggestions, inshallah.
So the question you asked, especially this busy schedule, nobody should enter into Ramadan without making a schedule, a practical schedule. Okay, so everyone that's here, this will be our assignment for next week. Everyone is responsible of having our schedule for the month of Ramadan. So in that slot, if you are working, or going to school, sleeping, 24 hours. Okay, and you have 29 days, 30 days. Practical. Okay, fine. I'm coming for iftar to the masjid once a week. Okay, that's 1 hour. That's 2 hours. My sahur schedule. So when you have a schedule, then you're looking forward to something. And if you don't have a schedule, you're just going with the flow. So if everyone in your house woke up with a stroke, you woke up maybe. And if no one woke up, then you missed Fajr almost. So having a practical schedule for the Ramadan, not like, oh my God, the first day of Ramadan, I'm doing qiyam, and I'm staying in the masjid, and that's the day that I'm going to take out. No, something that is, that's something you can apply in your life, and sit with it, look over it, and maybe you can tweak it in the month of Sha'ban, or make it now. It's one suggestion. So that's what I did last year, and I'm going to do this year. How much Quran do I want to read? Every single day. And how much time do I want to spend with my mom, my parents, homework, all that on a schedule. Because Ramadan is no joke. It's a serious month. Number 2, I had some students do this already. 3 bad qualities, note them down today on your phone, pick up the phones. And 3 good habits that you want to build, and 3 bad qualities you want to work on to remove. Anger problems. Sabr will teach you that. And overeating at iftar time, that's a quality I want to work on. Sleeping late, of course, we're going to do salah at 1, go to sleep right away, unless you're piano late all night. Something that you've been struggling it doesn't have to be religious. It can also be something like reading a book, even being working harder or something at work, being faithful at work, coming to school on time, coming to work at time on time. Those things which are it's related Islamically and also like socially in our work, in our school. Any three good qualities that you'd like to develop, write them down, please. So I don't see anyone writing. Okay? Please write them down. Look at those phones. Nobody's supposed to see these qualities. And three bad habits, no one's supposed to see them. So most of us have locks on our phones anyways. Right? Who doesn't have a lock? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like 10%. So everybody has a private note section. So number 2, write down 3 bad habits that you want to trim out of your life. Okay? This is why God shows us 4 seasons in a year. Okay? And we live in Michigan, we witness, I don't know if you do in Dallas,
There's 2 seasons.
They witness the adabs. But the fact of the matter is, Allah is trying to teach a message to the world that you can change. You can change. You can be dead and fall, and the spring will bring life back into you. You can be dead all year, and Allah will bring life back into you. Because the nutrition for the earth is rain, and the nutrition for the soul is Quran. So you have this, in front of us. We're going to embrace it. So please, 3 good habits. And right, I'm going to read it. Okay? So one bad habit is like, I want to stop lying. I'm going to work on that for 30 days. I'm going to stop backbiting. All Ramadan, if somebody backbites, the Prophet said, get up and leave. If your mother starts to backbite about someone in the community, with all respect, Mom, I have to leave. Or don't even make her feel bad, just actually go to the washroom and just walk up. Even if it's your own mother, learn not to gossip or backbite. 1 month. If you're one of those persons that likes to insult people or make jokes about people, maybe this month is that month and we gotta stop that. Control our tongue, we're patience. So it's all about patience. Please write those 3 quality bad habits down and 3 good qualities. Make them practical. I will give $1 a day. Music. Everybody's like, wow, music. So in the month of Ramadan, 30 days. No music. No music for 30 days. In England, even the non-Muslims, when they come near the masjid, they turn their music down. But the Muslims don't have that much shame to turn their music down. The non-Muslims, this is a holy place, they turn it down. We're in the month of Ramadan, for the sake of Ramadan. Right? So maybe music is a quality, a bad habit. We're struggling with just for 1 month. Then when Eid comes, bam, right there. And we party again. No, that's not the whole point. What does it take for a bad habit or a quality to develop? Like the psychologists say, 30 to 40 days. So we have 30 days of Ramadan and 6 days of Shawwal. That's 36 days to shape something good into your life. So we all have that. Do you have no? You want to tell us 3 good qualities that you wrote down? 3 good qualities. Something that you like to share. One of them, maybe. MashaAllah. He said, doing azkar in the morning. Can some sister share a good quality they like to do in the month of Ramadan? That they feel comfortable sharing. The dhikr in the morning and the evening? Okay. Something else. Another one. Tasneem. Why don't you tell us something that you'll add into your schedule? Dua before iftar. Very good point. You know what happens at iftar time? What happens at iftar time? The sisters or the brothers who are helping making the food, Allah reward them for getting all the ajr. But those who are not helping out in the kitchen, they're just sniffing the food, can't wait, counting the time, whose app is, Muslim app, whose app is like quicker than the other person next to you. My app is right now, another time. I'm telling you, man, this is the app. Everyone's using it. The Adhan app or the Imam app, whatever app you have. Now you're just debating figures. It's 8:52, 8:54, and you just can't wait to, take over the meal or the food that's there. But those 4 or 5 minutes are the most crucial minutes of the day. It's a time when dua are accepted. Okay? I honestly look at Ramadan like that 1 hour in the week that Allah's Prophet ﷺ said that the greatest day of the week is what? Friday. And in that Friday, فيه ساعة. There's an hour. لا يسأل الله عبد إلا أعطاه إياه. And on Friday, there's a time or an hour or a portion of that day. A slave of Allah, male or female, asks Allah for anything, and Allah will grant that person exactly what was asked. So that's 1 hour. Usually, the Mufassirin say, or Muhaddithin say, that 1 hour is between Asr and Maghrib. It's not 1 hour literally means a time. So it's between Asr and Maghrib. What usually happens with us, Asr and Maghrib, we're off from school, we're just enjoying time, we're eating at a restaurant, we're eating dinner, and we don't even think about reading dua. But honestly, that's the best time. I look at the month of Ramadan, the entire month, as that 1 hour. Because you're fasting, the du'as are accepted. And then, in nighttime, are the blessed nights of Ramadan, du'as are accepted. The first 10 days of Rahmah, the second 10 days of Maghfirah, and the last 10 days of it's coming now. So you guys are looking at a very, very good situation. And Allah, like Brother Ahmed said, this is the month to develop our good qualities, stay steadfast on patience. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward us. Does anyone have any other question? That was answer your question. I'm sorry, it's over. Anyone else have any questions? The easy way to stop asking people, giving opportunity for someone to ask a question is to take one question and just do another lecture after. But is there someone else that wants to ask a question? Anyone about Ramadan and or something that we want to figure out, something related to what he said? Anyone? Last thing, okay? Some of us are afraid of Ramadan. Let's be honest. Who is afraid of Ramadan? Raise your hand. 17 hours of fasting, 2 hours of tarawih, and the spicy food sometimes that we have in the masjid, right? If you're lazy like me, please bring it. And every time we feel like we're going to disappoint ourselves. We have this mindset already. You know what? It's going to be another year of disappointment. I'm not going to do nothing. I'm not going to do a khatna. I'm not going to do tarawih. So we come with this mindset of disappointment. Like, we can't do it. We need to fix that attitude, number one. Okay? Last Ramadan, it was horrible. I didn't do nothing. I don't know what I'm going to do this Ramadan. And I promised myself I'm going to be better, but 10 days into the month or 5 days into the month, I break down, I can't do it, it's too much. So part of it is to make practical steps and make dua. But you know that one dua that Prophet ﷺ made, people take it negative. Let's take a positive meaning out of it. Okay? There are 3 duas that will focus on the first dua. The Prophet went up the member, the pulpit, and said Ameen to 3 supplications or curses that Angel Jibreel made. The first one, بعد من أدرك رمضان فلم يغفر له. Second one, بعد من أدرك أبويه أحدهما وكلاهما فلم يدخلا والجنة. And number 3, بعد من ذكرت عنده فلم يصلي. Number 1, may that person be distant from the mercy of Allah. i.e., may he or she be thrown into the fire of hell, who lived to see the month of Ramadan and was not forgiven. Meaning there is no way. The opposite, mafhum mukhalaf, the opposite meaning taken from this hadith is that if you see the month of Ramadan, you must be forgiven. That's why it's there. It's there to forgive us. That's why it's coming. It's not coming for us to enter into hell. You understand? You saw your parents and you couldn't serve them. The parents were there for us to enter into Jannah. And sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And may that person be distant from the mercy of Allah, that Allah's Prophet's name was mentioned and they did not send salutation of the Prophet. So focusing on the first point, taking a positive understanding from the hadith, that we should understand the month of Ramadan is there, not to challenge us, so we can be blessed and be forgiven and granted paradise. Just one Ramadan it takes. And I said this in my khutbah last Friday. I said, if Allah asks us, Fulan, so-and-so, daughter of so-and-so, or son of so-and-so, show me that one time of your life that you can present to Allah that can that can please Allah or impress Allah. That one essay that you can present to your professor or assignment that this is how I can write. Actually, you did it, not your sister or your brother. Imagine Allah asks us, show me 1 month. In that 1 month, show me that one night, which is equal to how many? 1,000 months. Just one night. Hit the jackpot. And I say this always, if you're not conscious in the first 20 days, chances are you will miss that opportunity in the last 10 days. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm going to count on the account. No. Chances are you're going to, especially with the confusion of those who are doing Eid with calculation, and those who are doing Eid with Saudi Arabia, and those who are doing Eid with local sighting, so you never know who's right. Right? So you probably came thinking your masjid was right because they started Ramadan one day before or one day after, right? So maybe you need to check on every single night and be there. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us opportunity to take the most of this beautiful month. And what Brother Ahmed said, profound things, I took notes. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a little bit patient and work on salah and develop the right things which are necessary for us.
No,
You're musafir.
no, you please. You, no, not for no, you make that.
I need to all the time.
It's okay.
Just 1 second, please.
No, please.
Are you serious? You're musafir.
No, you're
Just 5 words.
شيخنا-
Anything you say will be
شيخنا، لا،
accepted.
لا.
Wallah, you're
تفضل.
musafir.
شيخنا.
Come to tell us, I mean,
بسم الله والحمد لله والسلام آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Oh Allah, make those who are Christians and make us of those who are able to develop our prayer and make it fulfilling in our lives. Oh Allah, make us of those who are able to Ramadan ahead of time and make us of those who could take full advantage of Ramadan, inshallah, and make us of those who will come out of Ramadan benefiting from the blessed month and make us come out of Ramadan better people. Oh Allah, make us of those who could go through Ramadan and get rid of bad habits and develop good habits through the blessed month. Ya Allah, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, have mercy on us and guide us and make us good sons and daughters to our parents and allow our parents to be pleased with us. Ya Allah, oh Allah, be pleased with us. Ya Allah, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah.